machine? The answer was IROC. Equal and matched cars, meticulously prepared to race, but with the mechanical advantage eliminated. Only the driver remains. IROC is a celebration of champions in its 20th season. 12 of the finest from 5 different disciplines race on 4 different tracks. It's the International Race of Champions. We're in the Irish Hills of southern Michigan at Michigan International Speedway for the 4th and final round of the International Race of Champions, the IROC. Hi, I'm Paul Page, and welcome to Michigan as we continue now this celebration of the 20th anniversary of the International Race of Champions. We've been making history all year long. There's going to be history made here again today. For example, number 1, of the 12 drivers in the International Race of Champions, 11 of them have at least a mathematical chance of taking the championship here today. And at the top of the order, Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr., both IndyCar drivers. And it's been quite some time since we've seen 2 IndyCar drivers up at the top of the list. But for everybody in the fight, the goal is quite simple. There's no really complex mathematics. You must win here today if you want to be the IROC champion. Now, there are other stories developing as well. Let's go down to pit road and Jack Arute.
Well, the big story down here, driver changes. Steve Kinzer has a sprint car commitment. Can't race today, so replacing him at the wheel of the car will be Dale Jarrett, winner of the Brickyard 400 and the Daytona 500. A little further back, in the 3rd row, Tommy Kendall has to drive his regular SCCA Trans Am car, so replacing him will be Jeff Bodine, another NASCAR regular. But the most important story, the man that is still on the mend from his Talladega incident, Dale Earnhardt, cannot drive today. So he's gone to Ricky Rudd and asked Rudd to replace him at the controls of the car. Rudd has agreed. Now all these drivers will gain points for the drivers they're replacing. One of the great stories you got to remember is that last year, Dale Earnhardt won the championship after he had retired from this race. Can he write a new chapter today using Ricky Rudd to make him a 2nd consecutive IROC champion? Only time will tell.
Well, Jack, let's take a look at the 2 accidents that have put the IndyCar drivers at the top of the points fight. This was in the spring at Talladega, and when it was over, 9 different cars had suffered damage. They did the same thing again under the lights at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Again, the NASCAR guys were the ones most affected. So, Benny, these 2 crashes have had a major effect on the series.
Paul, what the crashes have done have put the 2 IndyCar drivers in front of the points. Robbie Gordon leading, Al Unser Jr. in 2nd place. But, Bobby, we're at Michigan International Speedway today. The stock car drivers have to have an advantage because they drive thousands of miles a year, cars very similar to the Pontiac Firebirds they'll be using today.
Well, Benny, just remember one thing, though. At Talladega, for the first time, we saw, of course, after the crash, we saw the IndyCar drivers team up together. They had a meeting before the race. They teamed up, and they whipped all the NASCAR guys. So, could happen again there, too.
But the stock car drivers, Bobby, will probably team up as they go along. They'll make it up as they go along.
All right, but just remember one more thing. Counter that just a little bit. Little Al has won 4 IROC races right here at Michigan. He's starting in the back, true, but don't count him out today.
Well, guys, we're ready for the final round of IROC 20. The Pontiacs are already out on the track. Let's look at the starting grid. Rusty Wallace has the pole from Winston Cup Racing. Dale Jarrett will replace outlaw Steve Kinzer. In the 2nd row, 2 regulars to the series this year, Jeff Gordon and Johnny Benson Jr. from Stock Car Racing. Sterling Marlin and then Jeff Bodine replaces road racer Tom Kendall. In the 4th row, Scott Pruitt from the IndyCars and Ricky Rudd substituting for Dale Earnhardt. In row 5 from NASCAR, Terry Labonte and Mark Martin. And in the 6th row, Al Unser Jr. and Robbie Gordon, both from the IndyCar series. So that's the grid, the way it was constituted here. And let's take a look at what's ahead. 50 laps, 100 miles. Very quickly, we will learn the IROC champion. But Jack Arute, the grid as we have given it will change before they get to the green.
Well, all these driver changes have benefited one driver immensely. Now remember, in reverse order is the way they start based upon points. So the current point leaders are in the back of the field. But with all the driver changes now, Mark Martin will benefit immensely. The drivers that have to drop to the back of the pack all happen to find themselves on the outside row along with Mark Martin. In NASCAR and in IROC, rather than crisscrossing cars on a restart, they simply move the row up. So as Johnny Benson pulls to the outside pole position, where does Mark Martin find himself now? Starting on the outside of row 2 for this final round of IROC 20.
50 laps, 100 miles to determine the champion of IROC 20, the fourth and final round here at Michigan International. There is some concern about Al Unser's car. There was a display of vapor at the back on the parade laps, and they do have a backup waiting for him, but it seems like he wants to stay in this car. The Pontiac Firebirds now take a look at the green flag. Nicely aligned already. Robbie Gordon tries to dart out a little bit. Ricky Rudd just behind him made a move as well. And here we go.
The start was certainly a whole lot better on that one. Rusty didn't jump out as much. There goes Dale Jarrett on the outside.
On board, Al Unser Jr. Back in the field, he'll try to work his way up. Of course, 11 of these cars all have a shot. Rusty Wallace, that dark green car, up ahead on the inside, started on the pole, is trying to master the lead of this race, but they don't seem to want to let him. And now he has to fall back. 3 wide.
And we see Al Jr., the black car, on the inside. Our leader right now is Johnny Benson. Al Unser Jr. following Mark. I guess that's Jeff Gordon on the inside. Alongside
Rusty Wallace, and they were just banging coming right down the straightaway there, kind of testing each other. Now you got to remember, Benny and Paul, when these cars get a little bit close together, the air really sucks them together sideways, so they're not trying to bang each other as much as after you get so close, the air just separates real quick and the cars kind of get stuck together.
Battle is back in second place. Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, Johnny Benson Jr. leads it for the time being. Al Unser Jr. has moved up and separated from this car, which is Robbie Gordon, the points leader. Gordon must now make up for that falter at the start. There's Scott Pruitt off to his right, but Gordon's momentum now begins to build. He passes Pruitt and closes on Terry Labonte.
we can see that it's fairly dark and on the front stretch, and I'm telling you, these cars are all, looks like they're all sideways. And look what a run that Gordon is getting on the inside of Sterling Long. They're now 3 abreast.
Well, as soon as he hits that straightaway, they'll kind of stop. Benny, look at him come back. He's out there all by himself. Now, drafting doesn't help here as much at Michigan as it does at Talladega or Daytona, but it still does help some.
Robbie Gordon on the move right now as they all chase. Johnny Benson Jr. with Rusty Wallace trying to hold on to second in a battle that he now fights. And look at Marlin. He comes up the inside of Jeff Gordon.
Right by, it looks like it's just a pretty easy pass. Drafting down the straightaway, pulled out and went right on by. Now that shows that the cars are drafting better here than I think they usually do.
You're looking back from Sterling Marlin's car. That's Robbie Gordon.
Well, there's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. If Robbie Gordon can get that green colored car to the front, if he wins this race, no one can beat him for the championship worth $225,000.
Now, Benny, one of the big things they've changed on the cars this year, there's little Al sitting right up alongside of Jeff Gordon there. In-car cam shows that.
Al way down low alongside of Jeff, trying to get third place so he can set up on Rusty Wallace, currently in second. The black car down low, Al Unser Jr., Jeff Gordon. Light blue number 10 up high. They come to the backstretch again. Al stays to the inside.
I started to mention these cars have a lot more downforce to them. In order to make them handle here at the Michigan track, they had to add a lot of spoiler to the back and a lot of spoiler to the front. In other words, they have more total downforce. Slows down the top end speed just a little bit, but as we're seeing, the racing is a whole lot better. Passing is a little bit easier, and of course that's what we're interested in.
Al Unser Jr. as they go single file up at the front, but the fight very definitely continuing in this, the final run of IROC 20. We'll be right back.
ABC Sports coverage of the International Race of Champions. Brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We are driving excitement. AC Delco Automotive Parts AC Delco, it's like buying time. Restore, manufacturers of innovative products for your car and truck. And True Value, official hardware store of IROC and garages everywhere.
Back at Michigan International, round 4, IROC 20, Alan Jr. trying to get up to the front of this field, representing the Indy cars. He sits now back in 4th place with 3 stock car drivers just ahead of him.
Well, that's little Al we're on board with right now, the black car looking right ahead of Jeff Gordon. Now, this is what they're doing, drafting, but they're not getting as much drafting single file as they did with a whole bunch of them running side by side a little while ago. The green car right up there, Paul, is Rusty Wallace. Now, he's been chewing pretty hard on the leader right there occasionally. Running up, taking a bite on him, can't get by, though.
Johnny Benson Jr., the leader.
That time Little Al came off turn 4, got the car pushing toward the wall. You heard him get out of the throttle to avoid running into the wall.
And, of course, it's the bad air from the guy right in front of him, Jeff Gordon. Jeff is up high. That makes Little Al's front end push. That's what Benny just described coming off of turn 4.
And that's why that Little Al got low coming off the second corner so he could get some nice clean air on the nose of that car.
Now, theoretically, the IndyCar guys, as we've already mentioned, really ought to hook up with one another. But as yet, we're not seeing that. You think it's that Robbie can't catch him, or that strategy hasn't played out yet?
Well, Paul, when they were running side by side, the air hole was quite big, or the drafting was a lot easier. As you see them get in single file now, they're not having as much luck passing. You look a little out trying to get by Jeff Gordon. He can draft him all the way up and get behind him, but it's hard for him to get by. Now he's running, as Benny said, way down low, trying to stay in clean air, because if he follows Jeff through the turn, it makes Little Al's front end push or not turn too well.
Backs off, going in the corner.
Gets way low.
Now he turns back on the throttle. Looks to come off the corner wide open. That time, by moving low, getting the air across the car, able to use the downforce to make the car stick, and he was able to come off turn 4 with the accelerator wide open.
But right there down the front straightaway, Benny, or on the kind of the trioval of this track, he was getting off course a little bit. Looks like he's trying to cool his radiator as opposed to getting a good draft behind Jeff Gordon, the light blue car right in front of Little Al that we're on board with there.
And 4 cars separate Al Unser Jr. from Robbie Gordon, so the 2 IndyCar drivers that are at the top of the championship points count are separated now, and the Winston Cup drivers at the front of the field are continuing to hold on. Now Little Al gets a little help down low. Also look for the rose-colored car and Scott Pruitt in there.
Now they're all teamed up with Little Al trying to get by Jeff Gordon.
Now they'll even do a little bit of bumping with their bumpers to try to get the draft to move things along a little bit better. These guys are so good at this drafting, so good at these type of cars, that they'll start doing a little bit of bumping in the straightaways to help get the train going a little bit faster.
That's Mark Martin that we're looking at just behind Little Al.
And Jeff Gordon, Sterling Marlin was not able to get by. Both Little Al and Mark Martin able to get by, but Sterling Marlin couldn't make it, had to fall back in behind.
And now Robbie Gordon is up with Scott Pruitt. So let's see if they work together. That's not going to help Pruitt a whole lot, and probably not going to help Robbie.
Well, that's not working together. That's Robbie Gordon going by Pruitt. Now, whether he stays there or not, they're side by side. You can see the little gold car on the left and the pink or rose-colored car on the right. That's Robbie Gordon and Scott Pruitt.
And just behind him, the 11 car assigned to Steve Kinzer. He is not here. Dale Jarrett is actually in the cockpit, and he seems to wander back and forth, wondering which one of these guys. I don't really want to help either one.
Now, these are the 2 IndyCar guys here between Gordon and Pruitt that we thought might team up as they did in Talladega, but obviously they're going at it tooth and toenail. No teamwork right there.
Robbie Gordon works slow this time. Doesn't work for him.
Now, if you notice Pruitt, he's still up behind the majority of the car, so he's getting a little bit of a pull from the other guys breaking up the air. So it puts Robbie Gordon, who's off, as you can see, right to the left. The little brown car we're on board with, he doesn't get much help in the draft.
Back to the front. Nothing changes up here. Al Unser Jr. still trying to work on Rusty Wallace now.
In the meantime, Johnny Benson is slowly pulling away.
That's Rusty Wallace right behind him there. He's not getting a whole lot of help. But you see Benson getting away. He's more or less running on his own. That's going to mean that Rusty will have to be cutting clean air all on his own, which means Little Al is going to be able to pull up on him a little bit.
If Rusty and Little Al could get together, run nose to tail, I think they could catch Johnny Benson. But I don't think Al's car handles well enough, tucked up on the back bumper of another car.
I think he's pushing too much, Benny, so he's running awfully low on the track, which means he doesn't benefit from the draft that much.
Rusty Wallace is the one driver here who can't take the championship. And so Rusty could really be a spoiler in this thing, pick whoever he wants to run with.
You think that Little Al would get over behind Rusty and get a little bit of help. Now, Rusty pulled over in front of him. That's going to help him. But maybe now Little Al's pulling down on Rusty again right there. Benny, I can't figure that one out.
Rusty was trying to get Little Al to follow him, but that was on board once again with Robbie Gordon.
Terry Labonte sitting up outside there.
Robbie's trying his best, trying to get on the inside. He just can't get by those cars in front of him.
At the front of the field, Al Unser Jr. trying to move on Rusty Wallace. Johnny Benson Jr. is still the leader. And that's Mark Martin in the 3 car that comes up and tries to help Little Al. And indeed he does, as both of them get around Rusty Wallace. So Al Unser Jr. now to second behind Benson.
Now that just shows what teamwork will do. And Little Al had to get Mark Martin. Of course, that's an IndyCar driver. Little Al, Mark Martin, very good NASCAR driver. They're both very good at that, and just shows the teamwork will work. Now, are the rest of the guys going to learn something from that?
Robbie Gordon comes alongside Labonte.
One more time, he finally makes the pass, is able to get by, and look at Labonte go right to the top of the racetrack, catching that green racetrack, and he will come off that corner like a rocket ship.
He's on camera. Look at Labonte there, right up alongside of Robbie again. It just shows you that sometimes, like you said, Benny, that high line is a fast one.
And just like you said, but they still say side by side, it looks like Gordon works down low a little more efficiently than Labonte. They come onto the backstretch as the battle resolves itself for the time being. At the front of the field, it is still Johnny Benson Jr., who, if he stays there, could take the championship. The points leader in the IROC, Robbie Gordon, alongside Jeff Gordon as he tries to work his way further forward. Al Unser Jr., when he moved into second place, put himself in a position of being on top of the championship fight. But, of course, this run is far from over. Johnny Benson Jr. continues to lead it.
And just so everybody knows, Paul, the 2 Gordons are not brothers. They're different people from different places. Both very good drivers, though. There's Johnny Benson out in front now, still running on his own. His car's really working good. He's slowly been pulling away just a little bit, but it looks like the train, look how they're all in a straight line. There's Little Al right there in the black car, and they're slowly sticking together now. Of course, they should pull up a little bit. There's Benson way out from Little Al right there.
This is really helping Al Unser Jr., the fact that he's able to get clear of those cars. He now has clean racetrack, using all the air for the downforce, and he should be able, if Mark Martin could just get a little bit closer to him, if his car would handle, I think they could run Benson down. But right now, Al Unser Jr., he really don't want to run Johnny Benson down because he wins his championship if he stays right there by 1 point over Benson.
And, of course, right there's the 2 guys, the 2 Indy cars. There's Gordon going under Pruitt. Robbie Gordon, they're racing. Robbie Gordon is slowly moving up. That's the guy that Little Al's probably going to worry most about in the championship right now. Robbie Gordon just going right on by. Benny, you were so right a little while ago. He's really working down low.
Yes, he is.
Now, these cars are supposedly identical cars, done exactly the same way, tested by the finest drivers they can find, but when you get the drivers in them that are this good, there is a difference. That's the reason you see sometimes somebody like Robbie Gordon, who will work really good on the bottom, and maybe another guy like Labonte a little while ago working good way up high. There's Johnny Benson still out in front.
On onto the backside of this 2-mile super speedway. All 12 of the IROC cars still running together, Jack.
Well, Bobby mentioned the spoilers. Well, actually, they're more like air dams and little lips. The cars were a little unstable going in, so this 1.5-inch lip was added to the rear plexiglass spoiler on the Pontiac Firebird. That made the car much more steady as it entered the corners. Then it was still very unstable coming out of the corners in the draft, so this front air dam, about 3.5 inches wide, was added to the front of the car. Now, all of the drivers, when they drove the test cars, reported the best handling characteristics ever here at MIS.
Well, the Pontiacs have proven to be wonderful race cars throughout the year, and the addition of the spoilers are obviously making a difference. Everybody right together. Johnny Benson Jr. picked up the lead on the very first lap. Now we're approaching the halfway point of the run, and remember, in IROC competition, they award 5 points to the person who leads the most laps, and that could become absolutely critical to the championship as Benson flashes across the line once again, and Al Unser Jr. is being challenged by Mark Martin.
Now then, Mark Martin has closed up on the back bumper of Al Unser Jr. If they are going to the front and catch Benson, that now is the time to do it.
You know, Mark Martin's a good guy to team up with. Mark is a very smart race driver. I've watched him run for a lot of years, and he'll probably not make a wrestling match out of it, probably try to get them both up there. Don't you think, Billy?
I think he will. And Robbie Gordon goes by Sterling Marlin and is trying his best to get on the inside of Rusty Wallace. Is that Wallace?
And he's there, and he's by him already.
Well, not really.
Oh! Well, he was for a little while. That's what makes IROC racing so good, right there. That's good racing.
Figure.
Look at Robbie work at that bottom of the track.
And this is going to be critical. Mark Martin working on Al Unser Jr. The fight is for second place. Mark Martin came into this race third in the points fight. He knows where he needs to be if he wants to take the championship.
Now there's another guy working on the bottom. Mark Martin got under little Al, worked on the bottom, and went right on by. That was right between 3 and 4 corners. Same place Robbie Gordon's been working so good.
Robbie Gordon moved out and around Rusty Wallace. So now, Gordon on the move as we are over the halfway point.
Now, over the halfway point, Paul, is where the tires are starting to make a little bit of difference in the handling.
So Johnny Benson Jr. is the leader. Mark Martin has moved into second place ahead of Al Unser Jr. Johnny Benson's handling it up. He needs to stay up front.
Takes to win the UAW GM's Teamwork of Excellence Award. Just ask Dale Earnhardt.
Who the heck are those guys?
UAW GM. Assembly line to finish line. Teamwork wins.
Hi, I'm Buddy Parrott. You may not know it, but radiators can build up rust and sludge that will cause leaks and cooling system failure. So, if you don't want to end up like this fella, then use Restorer's Radiator Restorer, Sealer, Conditioner, and stop leaks fast. Radiator Restorer keeps radiators clean. It's environmentally safe and works with regular antifreeze. Don't be left behind. With Radiator Restorer, you'll stay on the road. Stop leaks in seconds with Radiator Restorer.
Back at Michigan International Speedway, the International Race of Champions, round 4, the one that will determine the champion. One of those factors is the current points leader, Robbie Gordon. You see him right there. He has finally been able to move his way forward. He was stuck back in the field and now is up behind Al Unser Jr.
Now just look at little Al. He isn't going to do it right here, but we've just watched little Al move to the lower groove. He moved back to the higher groove, and there goes Robbie Gordon right along, right on by him. Now little Al looks like he learned on that a little while ago.
Two Winston Cup drivers at the front, Benson and Martin, and then two IndyCar drivers, Al Unser Jr. and Robbie Gordon. Gordon finally takes the position, and in the championship at this moment, in these positions, Benson, Martin,
Robbie Gordon would now win the championship by passing.
Exactly, because he just came forward. So that's a position that Robbie Gordon needed.
But if Mark Martin, the second car on the right side, if he passes Benson to take the lead, he can win the championship.
When they started this lap, the top three were tied with 54 points.
And remember, Benson has led every lap so far, but look, right behind him, Mark Martin, not only gaining, but he's going to start trying to pass him really quick now.
The tiebreaker is performance in this event. So if you finish ahead, you're going to win the tiebreaker.
There's that low groove again. Martin is down in the low groove, working on Benson. Now let's see if he taught Benson a lesson. Let's see whether Benson's going to stay up high or go down now. Mark's working the low groove again. Mark Martin on the right there. There he's moving up on Benson. Low groove's the fastest, Paul.
Well, I'll tell you, no question about it as Mark Martin takes the lead. Johnny Benson Jr. drops back to second, but look at this.
The low groove is the fastest today with the Pontiac cars here. There's no question about it.
But now Benson drives it on the outside, gets that momentum up there, and gets back past Mark Martin up in the grade.
Oh, the grade, Benny. I just noticed that. Way up high there.
What a great race this is. Two great drivers. How good would it be if rookie to the IROC Johnny Benson Jr. could take the championship? He battles with a great veteran, Mark Martin.
And right now, these guys running side by side, that should be allowing Robbie Gordon to catch these two cars. And if Gordon can pass one of these cars, then he will win the championship.
These guys are also abusing their tires really hard. Taking the lead right now is very, very important. Right here with these two guys, Little Al on the left, Robbie Gordon on the right there. It's important to them, too. The championship's what at stake here.
And Mark Martin now has the lead. He has taken the lead from Benson.
Now let's see if Benson gets back.
And Little Al got by Robbie Gordon.
What an exciting race.
There's the interval from the first two. The two Winston Cup drivers, Mark Martin, Johnny Benson Jr., back to Al Unser Jr., currently third, and Robbie Gordon. And then the rest of the field, but everything that matters in those first four places right now.
So right now, Johnny Benson is trying to figure out the line or the groove around the racetrack that Mark Martin is using. He's going to try to run that line and see if his car reacts as well there as does Mark Martin's.
But if you notice, Benson, Benny is not getting off. He's staying right behind Mark Martin. Just trying to pick up a draft. And I think the guy's got to get down low. That seems to be where the fastest groove is.
Martin, Benson, Unser Jr., Robbie Gordon, the top four. The battle is for the championship.
And $225,000 to the winner, Paul. That's the most important part.
And Johnny Benson. And right now, Robbie Gordon is trying his best to get by Al Unser Jr. He's on the inside. But Al comes back. And takes his position back away from Robbie Gordon.
And right there, it's in the high groove. Now, I still think the lower groove is better, but Little Al thinks the high groove is better. He's up high. He's making Robbie's car push just a little bit. Maybe Little Al thinks that Robbie's loosened the rear end or maybe push a little bit on the front end. He's trying to guide him by what he does with the air.
And Sterling Marlin has caught up with that group.
So Marlin will be able to give Gordon a little help here if he'll stay down with him in the overall points fight. That's the car assigned originally to Tommy Kendall. You saw down low, Dale Jarrett at the wheel. He's not been running on the pace. And there is Marlin and Labonte. Labonte comes around Marlin.
What a good race. All kinds of passing going on now.
Nothing changes up at the front. Mark Martin, Johnny Benson Jr., and they have managed to stretch their lead out from the IndyCar drivers by just a bit. National Race of Champions, Michigan International Speedway, Mark Martin and Johnny Benson Jr. Two Winston Cup drivers from NASCAR, stock car drivers, on this track that is shared by both the Indy cars and by stock cars. So the drivers are fairly equal in terms of knowing this surface and knowing the nuances of Michigan International. The stock car boys, well, they have an advantage in the style of the car. Then again, you have the IndyCar drivers who also don't tend to work as well together. We have not seen the IndyCar drivers team up in this fight thus far. If the championship were to be decided at this second, Mark Martin would win it as a result of being in front of this field.
Not only that, Mark Martin and Benson, look at him right there. Look at that. That shows you the distance they pulled up. There is no drafting help that Little Al and Robbie Gordon to the right there behind them are getting from Martin and Benson in front. They have to run on their own now.
The two IndyCar drivers and the points leaders running right together on the track. Jack?
While Rusty Wallace might not be mathematically in the hunt for the championship, but of all the IROC drivers, he was the one that spent the most time in front of a special chart that detailed where each of the drivers would finish in terms of overall points based upon their finishing positions here. I asked him what he was trying to figure out. He said, I want to see who gets the most points for what. I tend to think that maybe he was trying to pick out who he wants to help.
Well, that, of course, is Terry Labonte's option. He is the only one who can't take the championship here today, so he can help whoever he wants.
They have to also keep in mind the amount of laps. IROC race is about 1 hour long. They're not very long to do. There's, whoa, it looked like they were going to touch right there.
And here comes Terry Labonte down to make it 3 abreast. He's on the apron. He is under the white line.
Unbelievable. And look, he's able to hold on to the slot. Can he do it coming off the corner, though?
That's that low groove again.
Wow.
You'd think that these other guys would figure that out. I sometimes just don't know. All the good passing has been done on the lower groove.
That silver car is Marlin closing in. So Terry Labonte comes forward a couple of positions, and that further jeopardizes any chance that Little Al and Robbie Gordon have of moving up into the championship fight. If it were to be decided right now, it would be Mark Martin, the winner of the IROC championship, as Little Al moves alongside Gordon.
But Robbie comes back on the outside. There comes Sterling Marlin. He's going to try to go by as well.
Now remember on the drafting that these cars, as they go through the air, make a hole that goes off from the car that's in the lead about a 45 degrees sideways on each side. So when you see the cars going alongside each other and gaining quite a bit, there's a hole in the air that's being cut at 45 degrees out, so they're really in a draft, even though it's alongside. Hope that wasn't too confusing.
Sterling Marlin goes by on the outside of Al Unser Jr., trying to follow Robbie Gordon. Can't do it. Unser Jr. comes back between the two Pontiacs.
It's some of the best racing we've seen in an IROC in a long time.
Well, Mark Martin leads it, and in that position, he can take the IROC championship. Robbie Gordon needs to come forward. He currently is second in that points fight. Back at Michigan International Speedway in the Irish Hills of southern Michigan, looking for a champion in the IROC. Time and time again in racing, you've heard those stories about the inexpensive parts failing on a car and causing extensive damage to a race car, or even worse yet, affecting the outcome of a race. Well, the components of the IROC car are certainly no different, perhaps even more critical, so as to keep in tune with the equal and match concept of the IROC. Gaskets seal in the highly pressurized oil and boiling water in the superheated exhaust. The valve cover and pan gaskets help keep oil in the engine where it belongs and not on the track, where it would be a danger to the other competitors. Perhaps the most important is the head gasket. It's located between the top of the engine block and the cylinder head, and it serves multiple purposes, keeping water out of the cylinders while keeping the cylinders pressurized so the horsepower remains constant. The inside ring of the head gasket will see temperatures of 1,400 degrees. Lose the head gasket and you've lost the race. Inexpensive parts making a difference. Johnny Benson Jr., currently second, the first IROC competitor from the Busch Grand National Series.
And I tell you what, if he were to win this race today, the grandstands might fall, because he grew up in Grand Rapids, probably about 125 miles up the road.
Now you'll get an idea of the interval. There's the first two cars as they move to the backstretch. And there now is the interval back.
Robbie Gordon, Al Unser Jr.
And they're separating now. That means their tires are getting a little bit worn. You don't bottom, pulling up alongside anybody anymore. That's because the tires are getting a little bit worn out. At the end of the race, the drivers use them up pretty much all the way.
Leaders work into turn 1 as the laps now begin to count down with just 7 to go. And the entire series of the International Race of Champions. Benny, as they get in and start to work 4, is the sun as bad as we're seeing it on the onboard?
I would think it is. There's Jeff Bodine in the Tommy Kendall car. Been struggling all afternoon. He moves over, let those 2 leaders go by. Yes, right now, these fellows are looking into a very bright sun that is obscuring their vision.
Look right there. That'll give you an idea of what they can't see. But they're so used to going around that track, they may not race right at that point with each other, but they certainly know where they are on the racetrack at least.
This view is Robbie Gordon. Championship now in the closing laps beginning to slip away. So it's Mark Martin's race to lose at this point. If he can just simply stay up here on point. But I don't think Johnny Benson Jr. is going to allow that to happen. He certainly sees the possibility of a championship for himself.
Let's talk about Mark being out in front. He can choose every place that he runs on the track. He can take as good care of his tires because he doesn't have anybody pushing that hard. The main thing is he runs clean air all the time, so he can kind of control the race right there.
No contest at the moment. When we come back, it'll be a run to the checkered flag, and we'll find out who is the champion of the IROC. Back at the IROC, where Mark Martin leads Johnny Benson Jr., the white car is Jeff Bodine. No factor in this fight. Then Terry Labonte and Robbie Gordon. Now, if Robbie Gordon wants to win the championship, he's got to get around Labonte and into third.
That's Robbie Gordon, the cream car right there in the middle, little eye on the black car on the right.
At the front, Benson continues to work on Mark Martin. Across the line with 3 to go.
Mark is not going to push any harder than he has to. He realizes that a flat tire that got too slippery on the right front, anything would allow Benson to get up and pass him. He's not running away from Benson, but he's not going to try to overdo it. He's only got about 3 laps left, Paul.
Benson is getting closer. That low groove you talked about, Bobby, he has started to go in the corner and bring that car down, especially down in turns 1 and 2, and seems to be getting, I think he drove in the corner a little too deep.
No, but look at Martin. He went right down there, Ben. He saw the signal, I think. I think he saw Benson moving up on him, and he's going down, too.
2 to go as they come across the line. And Benson is in the position to take the win here. Here is Al Unser as he tries to work on Robbie Gordon.
Both of them way down low. The track is a little bit cleaner down there. Doesn't have quite so much rubber on it.
This is a fight for 4. Terry Labonte is in third, just ahead of him. Back up to the front of the field. Mark Martin, Johnny Benson Jr. White flag comes out this time around. 2 miles to go.
I'm not sure if Mark Martin realizes that he is going to win the championship because
no radios. They got to do the figuring on their own. They certainly can guess that he's got a pretty good chance because he's in front, but he doesn't really know what the points are lined up behind him.
No radios makes it nice. These guys do nothing but hard racing the entire time. No pit signals, no radio.
Well, if Johnny Benson Jr. is going to make a move, it would have to be now, and it doesn't look like he has it.
here comes Mark Martin off turn 4. Winner and 1996 IROC champion.
Well, Mark Martin takes the win in the fourth and final round, and in doing so, he takes the IROC championship. As there's a fight for third place, resolved with Robbie Gordon in third, followed by Al Unser Jr. There's your new champion, Mark Martin, takes the IROC. Johnny Benson Jr. finishes in second. Nice little run here at Michigan International. And when we come back, we'll be talking with our new champion, Mark Martin. Well, Mark Martin has taken the race and the championship. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Mark Martin gets out to the thunderous applause of the crowd here as the winner of the 20th annual IROC Championship. He had it figured out right from the beginning. Mark, you knew what you had to do, and you accomplished it.
We had to win. Incredible.
When you saw Benson so far out in front, did that change the strategy at all?
Strategy was to win. I just didn't think I could, but it's great. Hey, Matt, I love you. Arlene, I wish y'all were here. This is great. I didn't think I could win, man. These guys were out there. I drove hard, boy. My car seemed to come in, then it started to go out at the end. It was time for it to be over for us, man. I'm just tickled to death. A little out of breath. Really drove the car hard. It was loose. And I didn't think we were going to finish better than about 6th or 5th. And I was just watching the thing. And as it went, they just got worse. And I kept getting a little more used, found me a line. It was loose, but we had enough.
Now, what are you going to do with $220,000?
Going to give about 110 of it to Roush Racing. Everybody at the Valvoline team. They're the ones who put me in here in that Winston Cup car. And I want to thank them and Cummins and all those people that support us, and they're going to get half the money.
Big payday for Mark Martin and his crew.
And a wonderful gesture from the new IROC champion. Here's the final results of race number 4. Robbie Gordon's 4th place doesn't get him anything. Jeff Gordon fell out on lap 39, and Johnny Benson Jr. had a great run. He's with Jack.
Hey, pretty good performance for your rookie season.
I tell you what, these guys do a great job, and these cars are what? I mean, they're real raceable. Mark is just plain tough to beat. I mean, he beat us at Charlotte. We finished 2nd, and then he wins today. We finished 2nd. But I tell you what, these guys do an awesome job, and we're just glad to be a part of this deal.
Well, here's the way the points finished up, with Mark Martin taking the win of that 4th and final race, and in doing so, taking the championship. Dale Earnhardt, last year's champion, finishes in 8th in the final point standings. And Mark Martin will take home $225,000 and split that with his Winston Cup crew. Robbie Gordon takes $100,000. Jack Arute, that's a lot of money, but not a championship.
Well, close, but close only works in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We ran pretty consistent the whole year in IROC. You know, just that one Charlotte, I think, hurt us the most. I think I had 12 points going into that race, and I came out only 4 ahead. So that's what hurt us the most. You know, today we had a pretty decent car. I didn't quite understand the restart with Junior. I don't know why he got to go back in front of me. He was never in front of me on the lap before. But it's racing, not a big deal. Hopefully we'll be invited to come back next year.
Well, as we take a look back at some of the highlights of this 20th anniversary celebration of the IROC, Bobby and Benny, let's get some of your thoughts. To my way of thinking, Mark Martin stayed consistent, and that's exactly what was needed.
Well, he certainly did, and we didn't see the IndyCar guys team up here like we thought we would. We saw them team up really good at Talladega, but by the same token, we didn't see the NASCAR guys team up against anybody here. I think what we saw at Michigan and probably throughout this whole IROC year is one of the best seasons I've ever seen, and just downright good racing.
You know, I was impressed with the new Pontiacs. The first year they worked with the cars, only 4 races. I believe that the Pontiac Firebirds in 1997 will put on a much better show and a series than in 1996.
Well, I think, too, Benny, as we look ahead to IROC 21, but not without a review of our champions of the IROC 20, I hope that for the future series, we'll at least see a road course and maybe a nice 1-mile oval. So I'm Paul Page for Benny Parsons, Bobby Hunter, and Jack Arute. We'll see you at the IROC next year at Daytona.